Hello and welcome back to the Indigo mini album tutorial series designed for ScrspNCreate. Today we are going to begin decorating our page 4 front and back. So to get started, we are going to be using this image here that we did prepare when we prepared our first page. So we're going to adhere this down to the center of this flap. From this 12 by 12 paper, I have cut one piece to measure 7/8 of an inch by 4 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to adhere this right here. Remember, we're going to use the edge of this 6 1/4 inch flap to line this paper up so that there is a uniform border around the entire piece. Opening the flap up, we're going to pull this down. We're going to cut another piece of that paper to 7/8 by 4 3/4, and we're going to apply it here, and we are going to make sure that it is within this box between the page and the score line. Next, we're going to place a magnet down here on the pocket, so I'm going to peel the backing off of my magnet and place it here. And this is about 1 1/4 inches from the side and 1 1/4 inches from the bottom. Then from this paper here, this is the 12 by 12, I have cut a piece to measure 2 1/4 by 6 inches, and we are going to place this here, covering the magnet. Next, I'm going to place my other magnet over top of this flap just to keep it there. From this 8 by 8 sheet, I cut one piece to 3 3/4 by 6 inches. I'm going to place this here, and then we will seal the pocket shut. Now that my background paper is on, I'm going to add my adhesive to the sides of my pocket. Then I'm going to close this and burnish it so that it will stay in a nice tight pocket. Next, I'm going to cut metallic gold paper for the front of these two flaps. Now, these pieces measure 3 7/8 of an inch by 8 inches. And whenever I place these, I'm going to place them a little bit closer to the center so I have a larger border around the outside edge. Because we've got two of them in the middle, they'll both meet together to form that uniform border, so it will be uniform all the way around. Remove the backing from your magnet, close your flap, make sure it's straight, and then press down to secure your magnet in place. From the 8 by 8 papers, we're going to use this piece, and we're going to cut this in half, and then we're going to trim 1/4 of an inch off of the right-hand side, and then we're going to trim these pieces from the bottom of this one and the top of this one so that these measure 3 5/8 of an inch. So these are 3 5/8 by 7 3/4. Now obviously this one is going to go on the bottom and this one is going to go on the top. From the 12 by 12 paper with these clocks, we are going to cut two pieces to 1 1/4 by 7 3/4 of an inch, and one is going to go on each side on these little flaps. And then for the top and bottom flaps here, I'm going to cut two white photo mats to 4 inches by 4 inches. They're going to go in the center. And then from this paper, this is from the 12 by 12, I have cut 4 pieces that measure 2 inches by 4 inches. So 2 will go on this side here. So this will look like this. And then the same thing for the top. I'm going to add my photo mat in the center, and then I've got my 2 pieces that are going to go on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and add all of these pieces on, then we'll come back and add some of the paper to the center part. Next, I'm going to cut 2 pieces that measure 1 1/4 by 7 3/4. I'm using this side of the paper. It is that 12 by 12 clock paper that we used for this side. We're going to use the back side for these 2 pieces here. Then for the center, I have one 4 by 6 photo mat. From the 12 by 12 paper, I have 2 pieces that measure 2 inches by 8 inches. And then from the 8 by 8 with the clocks, this paper here, I have 2 pieces that measure 1 inch by 4 inches, and I'm going to place these here. So when I'm gluing this down, I'm going to adhere these 2 pieces first, then these 2 pieces, and then my photo mat. Once we are finished with this, I'll come back and add a few little embellishments on, and then we'll start building up mats for the page. So now that all of my papers are on, I'm going to place some embellishments. First, I'm going to put this small hummingbird up here. So I'm only going to adhere the top part of the body to the page, like this. Then on this top flap, I have this gear. So I'm just going to place adhesive on the left-hand side and adhere that to the page. And then down here at the bottom, I have the clock face, and I'm only going to add adhesive to the left-hand side of it. And then place it down here. So next we're going to be building up some photo mats for in here and for this pocket. We're going to start with this pocket here. So we are going to need a piece of white cardstock that measures 2 3/4 by 4 1/2. I did round the corners on this piece, and this is the card that's going to go on the front of it. So I'm just going to place this here. Now I'm going to leave this plain on the back for journaling, but if the recipient wants to place a photo there, they can do that too. Then I need a piece that measures 4 inches by 6 inches. I have cut this card here from the paper. I trimmed it slightly, so this is 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then I have a white photo mat that also measures 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So this will go on the front, and then this will go on the back. So I'm going to put these together, and then I'm going to add an embellishment on the back of this one, and then we'll stick these in the pocket. Here is my larger photo mat. I have the feather here where the ends are glued down, but it is open, so the photo will slide behind it. I'm going to place this right in my pocket. And then I have my small card that I'm going to place in here right next to this. I'm going to arrange it so you can see those images. Now for this, in the center, these flaps will hold all of the photo mats in. So you can place several photo mats inside of here, but I'm going to show you what we are going to create. If you want to add more later, you can do so. First, I have one white cardstock mat that measures 4 inches by 6 inches. Then I've taken this card, I've trimmed this down to 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. It's going to go on the front of this mat. Then on the back side, I have a white photo mat that measures 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and it will go on the back side. Next, I have 2 pieces of white cardstock that measure 3 inches by 4 inches. I use the corner rounder on both pieces. Then I have the Creativity Takes Courage card and the Dream It, Wish It, Do It card. These are going to go on the fronts. And then on the back sides, I have these 2 white photo mats that measure 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. These will go on the backs of those photo mats. Then I have one piece that measures 5 1/4 by 6 inches. I have 2 white photo mats that measure 4 inches by 6 inches. There's going to be one on each side of the white cardstock mat. Then I have these 2 strips of the decorative paper. They both measure 1 inch by 6 inches, and I'm going to place each of these on one side of my photo mat, and then I'm going to add an embellishment on these 2. So I'm going to place all of my papers on here, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what they look like. Here is my larger photo mat. I put the word happiness on the side. It is lifted up so the photo will slide underneath of it. On the back side, I have placed one of the dragonflies. Now on this one, obviously you would place your picture this way, but with this one you can place it portrait or you can place it landscape. It would be okay if that dragonfly was upside down. So I now have this. I'm gonna place this in here. Now you can place it like this or you can place it this way, however you would prefer. I'm gonna leave mine like this. Then I have my card and I've just left it blank on the back. I didn't add any embellishments to it. And then I have these 2 and I also left them blank on the back. I didn't add anything. So they're just very plain and I'm just going to leave those sitting here. I'm gonna place this one here and this one here. And then I'm going to flip these in, this up, this down, and then I'm going to close my page. So next we're going to build up the front of this page and then we'll be finished with the front of page 4. I've taken the Dream It, Wish It, Do It circular piece and cut it from the paper. I backed it on the metallic gold cardstock. Then on the back, I cut a 1-inch piece and then I curved it just to put on this side here because it's going to be hanging off of the page. So when we open this flap, we want to be able to see the decorative paper. I then cut this small thin tag from the paper. I backed it on that metallic gold cardstock. I cut a 1/2-inch strip and put it down here on the bottom, because this is also going to be hanging off of the page. So we want to be able to see that decorative paper when that flap is open. Then I've cut this from the fussy cutting sheets. I backed it on the metallic gold and then I adhered it to that medium or lightweight chipboard and fussy cut around it. So this is going to go here on top of both of these layers. So we're going to place the tag, the circle, and then the clock piece. And to do this, we are going to be lining up the edge of the tag with the edge of the flap, but you will see a little bit down here. So I'm just going to be adding my adhesive to the back of that cardstock and then just one thin line down that decorative paper because it's going to be adhered on to the flap too. So I'm actually lining up the edge of my tag where it's slanted, and then I'm lining up the end of the tag with the edge of the paper. So now when I have this on here, you can see the decorative paper. For this piece, I'm going to be placing it so the D is actually in line with the D of Dream is in line with the gold from this larger flap. And then I'm going to leave it up a little bit so you can see a little bit of that tag sticking out below. So then I am going to adhere this whole entire piece except for the decorative paper. Right onto this page. And again, when I open my flap, I do see that decorative paper here. And then with my pocket watch piece, I'm going to place my adhesive on the entire back of this chipboard because the entire thing will be adhered to the page. And I'm going to place mine so that it's not actually 12 is not going to be upright, because I want my little piece here at the end to actually cover the hole on that tag. So now this is the front of page 4 completely finished. And next we're going to move on to decorating the back of page 4. The first thing I need to do is remove this piece from my page. I'm just going to set it aside for now. I'm going to open up this large flap. I've cut one of the pieces of the metallic cardstock to 2 3/4 by 8 inches. I'm going to adhere this to the base of the page here. And then I have this paper from the 12 by 12, and it measures 2.5 inches by 7 3/4 inch. And I'm going to adhere this here to the center. Once I have this on, I'm going to make this a pocket, and I'm going to close this up. So I want to make sure when I place these pieces down that this paper is slightly over this direction so that it does go all the way underneath this flap, or you can cut this piece to a little bit larger so it does go to the end of this paper if you want to. Now that this paper is glued on, I'm going to add some adhesive to the top and the bottom of my flap so that I can make it into a pocket. I'm just going to fold this closed, keeping it nice and tight, and adhere this down. Next, I have a piece of the metallic paper that measures 5 1/4 by 8 inches. I'm going to place this one down here. Then I have a piece of this paper. It is from the 8 by 8 collection. It measures 5 inches by 7 3/4 inch. Before we place this one down, we are going to pierce a hole. I've already marked my hole where I'm going to poke it. So it is in the middle of the 7 3/4 inch side, and it is about 1/4 inch from the edge. So I'm going to pierce a hole here. Then I'm going to take the clock charm that came in my charm pack with ScrspNCreate's papers, and I'm going to take a brad. I'm going to place a brad down through that charm, and I'm going to open this up on the back side. I'm going to press it flat, and I'm going to, it's already in the tape, so I'm going to leave it just as it is. And since it is in the tape, I'm going to break the backing of this tape so it doesn't pull my brad off when I do go to remove this backing. So it'll just go right around those. And then I'm going to adhere this piece to the center of my gold cardstock, and then I'm going to adhere it to this flap. Now that I have my paper on, I'm going to swing this clock to the left. I'm going to take my piece with the belly band with the card on the front, and I'm going to adhere the belly band in the center, only at the top and the bottom. Now I'm going to have my booklet fold so that this first flap on the right, on the left folds in, and then the flap on the right folds to the left. This is going to be my closure. It's going to be a swing tab that's going to hold everything closed. But for right now, I'm going to leave it open and we are going to decorate this next. So I have two pieces from the 12 by 12 papers that had the gold stripes. These are cut to 1 inch by 1.5 inches. One is going to go here and one is going to go here. Then on the front of the booklet, this is a piece that's going to go here. This measures 4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. And then I have this card cut down to 3 3/4 by 5.5, and it's going to go here on the front of the booklet. Now I have my papers on the front. I'm going to open up. I have 4 photo mats that measure 4 inches by 5 3/4. I'm going to place one here and one here, and then I'm going to open up and place one in each of these spaces. And then I'm going to come back and add some fussy cutting into these as well. So I fussy cut each of these pieces from the fussy cutting sheets. I'm going to start with the blue feather. I'm going to place this here on this bottom part of the flap. So I'm just going to apply some glue to the bottom and to the right hand side. That's going to be attached to the cardstock. Then I'm going to take my butterfly and I'm going to adhere the butterfly right here on the top right hand corner. So I'm going to add my adhesive to the tips of both wings and then place it here. Opening up, I'm going to take my key. It's going to go up here just slightly left of center, and I'm going to adhere the top of the handle and the top of the key part. Actually, I'm going to put this on the left. That way I can put a little bit of adhesive under that too. And then my gold feather, I'm going to place down here so that it's like this. So the bottom and the tip both need to have just a little bit of glue. And now I have all of my pieces on. I can go ahead and close my booklet and flip my clock to hold everything closed. So next we are going to add a photo mat to this pocket and we're going to add some tags behind the booklet. So first I've cut a piece of white cardstock to 6 1/4 by 6 inches. From the 12 by 12 paper that had all of the fussy cut images, I had one of the border strips left, so I cut it to 6 inches. This measures 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to place one at the top and one at the bottom of my photo mat. And then I have 2 of these, one for each side, 4 by 6 photo mat, going to go right in the center. So here's my photo mat for the back, and on the back side I'm going to place these 2 strips. So they are cut to 7/8 by 6 inches. They will also go top and bottom. Then I've cut out these 2 cards. I did poke holes in the top of them. I have 2 pieces of ribbon that are 4 inches long, and I'm going to knot these in the tops of my cards. Here is my photo mat. I did go ahead and add a fussy cut clock to the front of it, and then I left the back plain. You could certainly add something else down here if you want. I tend to leave the backs plain just so that nothing catches on the pocket, and I know where I'm placing these as they go in. So I'm going to place my large photo mat here, and then I have my 2 cards. I'm going to place these, one up here and one down here. So you can place more in here. You can place a photo mat behind here if you want to, but I'm just going to add these 2 little cards. And this is the completed page for me. If you do want to add more photo mats here, you can also do that if you choose. So now we have the back side and the front side. Page 4 is complete. Now, if you remember, we did already complete half page 5, so this is what it will look like in the album. So these 2 will be together like this. So you actually see both of those firefly images in your album at the same time. So in the next video, we're going to build up the 5th and final page, and then we will begin decorating those pages. So if you've just joined us for the tutorial, don't forget to head over to ScrspNCreate.com where you can pick up all of the Indigo papers from the collection. They are linked in the description box below if you want to follow along and join us in the tutorial.